Hey, viewers and listeners. So, as I'm editing this podcast, we just decided, Brooks and I, we were just going to go in and cut out a whole bunch of it. We talked a lot about Brooks's car crash that he was in. Since he's getting lawyers involved, we don't want to, say anything that we're not supposed to or have any of those issues after releasing an episode. So, Samson and I just wanted to hop in here and let you guys know that it kind of cuts in at a weird spot. There's no true introduction aside from this. So enjoy the rest of the episode. We're talking about trail cameras and how we use them and some regulations and things like that. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this episode and look forward to having this one and possibly one more here at the end of the week. So thanks again for listening. We'll catch you later.
Sweet.
Well, yeah, I think the next thing we're gonna talk a little bit about is trail cameras. Not necessarily brand by brand or kind of a breakdown of the gear itself, but kind of how trail cameras are used. We can kind of get into a little bit of the legislations, laws, things like that other states have implemented. Like we'll bring it up, but Kansas for sure is one that you can't have them on public lands.
Really?
Yeah. So different states have different laws, and it just kind of depends on where you're at and who you are. Like some people just don't even like to use trail cameras. Some people say that the worst thing that ever happened to them as a hunter was they bought a trail camera and started using it, and even a cell camera. They're like, trail camera was bad, but a cell camera was worse. So, but yeah. So, anyways, we'll talk a little bit about some trail cameras and some tactics and stuff like that.
Let's do it. Because I just searched up Colorado's trail cameras laws because honestly I don't know them because I don't have a trail camera.
Right. Yeah. I mean, if you don't have them, it doesn't bother you any. But yeah. I know it's kind of coming down the line of kind of not state by state every year, but different states are starting to trickle here and there, having these new laws come into place or bills or whatever legislation, changing the laws so that they either have more specific rules or an outright ban on trail cameras in certain areas. So, private land, you can do what you want. It's your land. Put out cameras, do whatever you want. Nobody can stop you from doing what you want to do on your land,
Right.
Within reason. But especially when it comes to trail cameras, there's really no rules anywhere on that type of stuff. So, but kind of looking more at like the tactics and stuff. It kind of ties into what we had talked about. One of our earlier episodes was, scouting and using your scouting to determine where you want to put trail cameras. So, once you kind of establish all of your areas where food is, where bed is, and like I said, public land is different than private land. Private land, you can, like, if you're in a state that you can bait animals, obviously put bait down, trail camera over the bait, and you just get to see what all's eating on your bait, or your food plots or whatever. But public land where you can't bait and you kind of have to know your sign, and set it up on different things. So, kind of speaking more personally of what I do and kind of what Tanner does as well, because we kind of have similar strategies when it comes to trail cameras. Getting out there, and where we like to put them is in like travel corridors. So, or transition areas, however you want to call it. But we kind of know where a bedding area is or might be. We'll find a pretty heavy trail, and then we'll set up our cameras on that trail, facing probably like towards the bed, so that we can catch them coming in to feed, and then hopefully going back from feed to bed. That's typically our strategy. What our strategy has been. Like I said, we're pretty much all public land, and so we don't really have the opportunity of like putting out a feeder and putting a trail camera by a feeder or anything like that. We don't have like a set tree stand where, some people they'll have it where, they kind of have like their kill spot where, their tree stand is set up in this spot and they have it mapped out like 20 yards out. We have this cleared area, and then they have a trail camera right by that area where they kind of have predetermined where they want deer to kind of funnel to, and they'll have cameras set up there. Like I said, public land, you don't really necessarily have that. I guess you could. You just also run the risk of anybody can use that spot. So, but no, that's kind of the tactic we use. I know. You can set it up on other parts of trails, but I think when you're doing that, like you have to know exactly where deer are coming in and out of, and sometimes you can find that. We have a couple on that public land that we hunt. There's a few like kind of trailways, entry, exit, that you could probably set up a camera close to that trail and be able to see and tell. You're also going to catch a lot of people on that because I feel like, Tanner and I use it. A couple buddies that we know hunt in that area, they use that same trail to come in and out. So I don't think that deters the deer, but you're going to get kind of flooded with everything,
right.
not just deer. So I guess if that's something you're okay with dealing with and flipping through the pictures or whatever, getting, if you have a cell camera, you're getting alerts all the time of people, deer, raccoon, people. And so it's like, well, whatever you're willing to put up with, you can try that. But when you have a lot more open of an area and you don't have it kind of pinned down to where these deer are entering and exiting a food plot or an ag field or whatever, that's a little bit more of a gamble. So,
right.
You're hunting before you're hunting in a way with trail cameras. So you're kind of scoping out, and again, we can go back to talking tactics, but you're scoping out where the deer are moving at and where they're moving most frequently. So, if you're not catching a lot of movement in an area, you're going to move your trail camera, right? And then eventually you're going to find a spot where they're moving quite a bit, whether it's closer to a bed or closer to feed or just, you're on a trail, but it's not the hot trail that is used the most often. Hopping over to, like, you find another game trail type deal, and maybe you set up on that, and they're using that one like crazy.
Right.
That's just kind of the gamble you can play with it. But you're kind of hunting before the hunt, and you're looking for a spot that the animals are moving through, and you're looking for I guess for public land, you're looking for a spot that could turn into a kill spot.
Yeah.
You have good openings and a good lane or something like that, and that deer are moving through in that area. Then you can kind of base all of your other how you would go about getting into that area to hunt it. You can base it off of what you're seeing on the camera. So that's where cell cameras kind of are nice, because you can get day by day information and you don't have to go in there and be intrusive to the area to find out, hey, what moved through here the last 24 hours and go check it in person. Cell camera, depending on how you have the settings, you can have it set where it just sends it as soon as an animal walks by, or like most brands have like a setting where you get an alert like at the end of the day after sunset or whatever, every day, and it sends you like your whole day of pictures from basically whenever you receive pictures from the day before all the way up until like sunset that day, or however you have it set up. So you just get like one bundle of images or videos or whatever you decide to do, and you just get one bundle sent to you once as opposed to scattered throughout the day. And so, but yeah, having a cell camera is nice for that, to be able to be like, okay, they're moving through at these times in this area. I kind of have it locked down on these things, So then you can kind of base your hunt off of that, especially when you get in season, like being able to know your timing and what days and what times they're moving through, and then you can kind of look at the wind and pressure and things like that, and understand, okay, on a south wind day, midday, they're moving through here like this, and this is the way I can get into that area when things are like that, and you can set up your hunt based off of that. So, it's just having a lot more information than just kind of going in blind and just being like, oh, I kind of like this area, and last time I was in there, I saw a deer track, and I'm going to go hunt over it and see what moves through. You get a lot more information, which that kind of goes to what I mentioned at the beginning of this. There's some people that say, having a trail camera like almost spoiled hunting for some people, because it just gave people too much information.
Right.
Or it gives to people too much information. So,
because I guess that could be just in a sense of like, yeah, you're getting all these notifications that there's animals there, so you go there and then nothing happens.
Yeah, and it's like, what the heck?
Yep.
Like, what did I do wrong? Or where'd they go? What have you? So, yeah, and then just like, also, there's another topic that kind of funnels off of it and or branches off of it, but you get to a point where you get to see and know animals that are in the area and frequent it, and then you kind of develop history with animals, and that's where people who find big bucks, it's become like the hot thing. People are talking about naming deer, and they've got all these crazy features, and they have their target buck based off of all their trail cameras and the history they have with this animal, and they have images multiple days a month of this one buck coming through, and Big Billy, he comes in at this time, and he beds this far away from the tree, and I know everything about him, and I'm basing my hunts off of him and him only this year. And it changes hunting. So whether you want to say that spoils it or not, I guess that's up to the interpretation of the individual. But people completely change their hunting strategies and tactics, and I guess you could say ethics of single deer, single buck minded, only hunting trophy big bucks because they have a picture of one, versus going in there and being happy with whatever walks in front of you, and whatever makes you happy.
Right.
Unless it's only big deer that make you happy, then I guess it wouldn't have changed anything for you. But if before you bought a trail camera, you're like, oh, I'm tickled to death with this 6 point. Didn't matter what he scored. I got this 6 point. He came through, and he had a good sized body, and so I took him, and feeding the family with it. And
right.
So if that was how you were before a trail camera, and then after, it's like, oh, I'm only hunting this one buck because Big Billy he could be 180, he could be 220, whatever, and that's the only reason you're chasing after this one deer. It could change people, and I think that's where people are saying it kind of spoils the hunt for people.
Yeah, that would make sense, because like you could, like, you would want this like certain buck or elk or whatever it may be, and you keep passing up on these like pretty solid racks or size deer, elk, whatever you want to call it, wherever you're hunting, and you're like, nah, and then all of a sudden that one just never pops up, and you're like, oh well, I could have took these two guys instead, but I was hoping, I mean, that makes sense on how it would just ruin your hunt in general, because you're so focused on one deer or one elk, and it's got to be that one no matter what. Now, I mean, not saying that's bad. If you want to do that, great, that's fine. But at the same time, like, we are hunters, we want meat, at the end of the day. Like, yeah, having a big buck would be, or a big elk would be great, but we want the meat.
Right.
And if you can take one that's legal, great. At the
Yeah.
end of the day, hunting's hard enough, especially bow hunting. It's hard enough that at this point it doesn't matter. If you can take one, take one.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if you're fortunate enough to be in a situation where you're passing quality deer left and right and holding out for that one giant one, good for you.
Yeah.
You're in a great spot. But now if you're in a place where it's like, I haven't seen a whole lot of bucks this year, and I know this one buck is in the area and he's been by twice this month, and I'm hoping to get him, and I'm basing my hunt only off of him. Now that's where you kind of have to look in the mirror and be like, okay, is hunting this one deer in this area where there's not really a whole lot of buck action, should I really be holding out for this one guy, or should I be happy with the next decent buck that walks by me? Now, like, if you're not happy with a spike and you want to wait for a 4 point, 6 point, whatever, then yeah, wait for him. But yeah, I think it just kind of boils down to, when you have those trail cameras out, you know what's in your area, so you should know what to expect.
100%.
Like for me, the bucks I've seen on camera, I have one good buck on camera. The rest they're funky. They're like maybe 6 points, 8 points. They got some messed up racks or what. Like they're just not like, they're not monster deer. There's obviously the biggest one I'd be very happy with. But I would say there's probably 8 bucks that frequent where my one trail camera is right now, and I would be happy with like 6 or 7 of them.
Right.
But there's like one really young spike, and that's the only one I'd probably pass on. All the rest for me, because I know all the of all these deer that come by, these are like the only 8 bucks that come through. I should not be expecting the 200-inch deer to come by, and I cannot hold out for that to happen. So like best case scenario, I get a couple bucks to walk by together, and if I have the choice at taking either one of them, I'll take the bigger. If I have a chance at both of them, I'll take the bigger of the two. But yeah, that just being aware of what you have, and that, like I said, that's a big perk of having the trail cameras, because you get to know what's in that area that you're hunting, and so you can go into the hunt not only with strategies and tactics, but also with an understanding of, okay, this is what's in the area. I know that if a 120 walks by, I am the luckiest guy on earth, and I'd be so fortunate to take him. But I shouldn't expect that. I should expect, if a buck even walks by, I should expect an 80-inch buck, and that's just what it is.
Yep.
But so I guess kind of staying on the public land side of things. You said you pulled up the regs for Colorado. Well, I'll talk a little bit about Tennessee, and I have some experience with Kansas too. But Tennessee, they don't really have regulations right now on it. So they do say technically you're not supposed to leave anything in like a wildlife management area overnight without the property manager's permission. But that's like a very gray area, because now this could just be based on interpretation, and another guy might say, well, you're leaving a trail camera overnight, so if they find it, they can take it, and it's your fault for breaking the law. But in my opinion, I feel like they wrote that law to say no blinds, no tree stands, obviously no feeders, because you can't feed in Tennessee, but those bigger items that are being left overnight, so you're not like reserving a hunting spot.
Right.
Now we'll get more into it for public land, but trail cameras on public land, that's becoming, like I said, it's becoming a hot topic, maybe even a hot issue. But for Tennessee, it's based on your interpretation, or whoever is interpreting it, the way I'm interpreting it, you can put cameras wherever you want and just hope they don't get stolen is basically the thing. So, I put locks on mine and I haven't had any issues, even though even I've had it out for 2 years now in a couple different spots. People have walked by it. That people have seen it. I've never had anybody mess with mine. Maybe because they see that it's locked up, but you see about it on Facebook, oh, has anybody seen this guy? I had him on cell camera, and he took my camera, he took my SD card.
Right.
Well, bummer, I guess. Sorry, that's what you get for putting it in public land and expecting it not to get messed with. So
yeah, but at the same time, as hunters, I guess we expect people to respect our stuff.
Yeah,
because that's what most hunters respect other hunters'
right.
things. But I mean, we do have the people here and there who make us look bad, and they'll steal crap and it's just they just give the hunting community a bad name.
Yeah.
But it's part of it. It's no matter what industry or community you're in, there's going to be bad apples. So
yeah, for sure. What are any special rules in Colorado?
yeah, so they're the live action game cameras. It's illegal to use live action camera to locate, surveil, or assist in locating game wildlife for the purpose of taking or attempting to take the wildlife on the same day or following day. So essentially, drones or something like that.
Yeah.
Or if you actually have a camera in that area and you're getting a live feed, then yeah. But then there's internet-assisted remote technology. It's illegal to use trail cameras that use the internet or other computer-assisted remote technology while hunting or fishing. So you could have it out during the off season, but once hunting season comes around, you have to take them down.
Mm.
And then physical presence, you must be physically present in the immediate vicinity of the activity. That's what it says. Let's see. Trail cameras can also be used for home security to capture suspicious activity in your That is one thing. If you lived in the mountains or something, or you lived on a few acres of land, it's definitely nice to have the trail cameras kind of sitting around the house, just in case something.
Yeah.
Especially if it's a cell camera. That way you get the notification right away. Be like, hey, there's a bear right here. Not
right.
even right. It'd be okay. Don't take the dogs out right now.
Right. Seriously, for sure.
Or there's mountain lion or something.
That's I think going to be, whenever we move to wherever we want to move to. We're not trying to be suburbs or urban anymore, but or as much as we can. We're trying to get more rural if we have the chance to. But no, that's going to be instead of the Ring cameras or whatever, which they're nice on the house because they hook up to Wi-Fi or whatever. But if you're on a bigger property, we were looking at a lot that's 5 acres, and wherever the dwelling would be, the house, it's not too far from the road, so it's not a huge deal. But you could put a cell camera up by the front, your driveway basically, and be okay, if somebody comes down that driveway, they're gonna pop up on the trail camera. You're gonna know,
Right?
And that's too far to be on Wi-Fi. Then same with the rest of the property. 5 acres isn't a small lot, so your Wi-Fi doesn't stretch out to the edge, and so to be able to have a cell camera. I know this is kind of a side path, but cell cameras are great for that because if you have cell service, a lot of them they run off of whatever cell tower is strongest, so it doesn't matter what we have. Or I have AT&T, just because I have AT&T, but if the strongest cell tower in the area is Verizon, it's going to use Verizon to send me it's not a text, but through the app or whatever. It's gonna send me that image or video or whatever I have set up. So, it's nice to be able to be like, okay, if you even have a little bit of service or whatever cell tower is strongest out there, I know there's a T-Mobile, it doesn't matter. Whichever one is strongest, it'll be able to, if there's service, it'll be able to send it to you.
Right.
As long as you also have service wherever you're at. So,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, like home security and property, I guess you could call it property management or security. They'd be great for that.
Oh, absolutely.
But no, then the last one, Kansas, you can't have them on public land. I believe it was 2 years ago. I think it was the year I left, or year after I left Kansas. They implemented that new law, and so I don't exactly know what led. Well, I have a feeling I know what exactly led to it, but I don't think there was an exact instance. But you got something?
I'm looking it up right now.
Oh,
sorry.
But there's like it became very popular very fast to have cell cameras and trail cameras, especially in Kansas. People having big white-tailed deer in their area. As soon as people know that there's been big deer in an area, they're going to go put up trail cameras and try to find the next one. And next thing you know, you're on public land. And I guess heard stories. I haven't really seen videos or whatever, but people are like, you go in an area and you'll find 3 trail cameras on a single tree, and then you'll find like 5 trees with 2 trail cameras on it. Like you'll find 10 trees or 10 cameras on a handful of trees, all facing this one game trail in one area. And I've heard stories of like, I think Utah has some unique regulations on it too, of public land trail camera use. I don't know those ones for sure, but there's anoted state that's based like a big elk hunting state. So one of those, it might be Idaho. I don't know, but I know that they've changed their whatever state it is that I'm thinking of. They changed their laws because people are going into public land elk hunting, and there's been stories of like literally 30 trail cameras over a wallow or whatever where the elk are like rolling in the mud.
Right.
Like they'll have or like a small watering hole. They'll have like 30 cameras all surrounding this one spot.
Yeah.
And some of them are trail camera, like just regular trail cameras. Some of them are cell cameras, what have you. But like it doesn't matter. Like literally like 30 of them in one spot, not just like an area where you're talking like 100 acres and I happen to see like 30 trail cameras today. No, like one singular spot where 30 people have all set up their camera in the same spot. Like crazy.
Wild. So I looked up Kansas. It says, yep, no, trail cameras are not legal on Kansas Department of Wildlife Parks, lands, or waters. Why the ban? The ban was implemented after years of public concern about trail cameras, including privacy, theft, ethics, and disturbing wildlife.
Yep.
This ban applies to about 300,000 acres of wildlife area, nearly 1.5 million acres of private property in Kansas Walk and Hunting Access Program. However, trail cameras are still permitted on most private lands.
Yep.
Utah, you cannot use on public land. You cannot use your trail camera from July 31st to December 31st.
So you can have them out to scout,
Mm-hmm.
but you can't have them out during the season.
Correct.
Part of that makes sense.
That makes sense. I agree with that.
Like public land, for sure. I understand it.
Mm-hmm.
Because then I guess that goes into the next part that I kind of want to talk about, some ethics parts of it, and morality, I guess, of trail cameras, especially cell cameras. Because I think that's the one that I'm thinking of the most. Because like I'm thinking of examples in my life where I have the cell camera and it sends me images, what have you. And I know early season I sent you guys like some text and it's like I'm in the field, but I'm not by the camera, and then the camera goes off and there's the deer.
Right.
And so some morality, ethics of hunting. It's like, okay, I set up in one spot because of wind or whatever. My instance, it was I set up on this other spot, not on the camera because of the wind direction, and accessing my spot where the camera was at or is at. That wind direction made it next to impossible to get into that where the camera was, and so if I would have gone in there, I probably would have bumped deer and probably not seen deer. But because I knew that buck was out and moving, it was like, well, now that I know he's out and he's not in that area, should I go try to slip in there and like try to go like hunt where like intersect him or whatever? And so it would have like, had I not just stuck to my guns and I set up in this spot, I don't care that buck came out, whatever. Like I'm gonna just stick in my spot. But like, had I gone and been like, oh, this buck is out, I'm gonna get down from my tree now and just go try to intercept him. In my mind, it's like, well, you wouldn't have done that if you didn't have the camera. Like,
Right.
You wouldn't have had this gut instinct to tell you, man, I need to get out of this tree and go to where that camera is because I just feel like there's bigger deer or there are deer walking around over there. And so, like, to me, it's like, if you're changing your hunt that like in the moment, something is off. Like I feel like that's not very like ethical. And I know there's people that like they'll be in one spot hunting, and they'll get a cell camera image or whatever, and they'll be like, "Oh, he's on the other side of the property. I need to like I'm getting down and I'm getting over there right now," and they will, and then they'll get there, and they'll whether he's bedded down or whatever, they catch him moving again, and the hunt's over, and they get him, and it's like, woohoo, I got him. It's like, well, you didn't really like hunt him.
Yeah, you didn't really hunt him.
Like you knew what he did, and then you just went and harvested him because you knew where he was.
Right.
So that's where I run into like the ethical dilemma while you're in the field. Now, if you say, okay, I'm sticking to my guns, I hunt here, and now I know like that's how he's gonna act on these days with this wind or this pressure, whatever it is. Like, okay, now I'm gonna adjust the way I hunt. That's hunting him, in my mind. Now somebody else might say, well, what's the difference of doing it one day apart versus 10 minutes apart? Some might say there's no difference, but to me there is a difference because there's a factor of a chance of him not doing what you thought he was going to do, as opposed to just going to where he is in the moment. So that's one ethical thing. I don't know. In that scenario, I know you don't have cell cameras, whatever, and I know I just kind of splurged all of my thoughts, and the hot reels and TikTok trend is we listen and we don't judge. So I'll listen to you and I won't judge you, maybe a little bit, but I won't judge you. If you're in that type of situation, say you Brooks Benson have a cell camera, you're out hunting, and big old bull walks by your cell camera, but you're set up 500 yards away. What is Brooks Benson doing?
Wait, repeat that again. I'm sorry.
Well, so elk hunting's a little bit different because there's a chance you could call and he just turns around and he comes to you.
Right.
Fine, but okay, we'll just put Brooks in the situation that I was in. You're in a tree, or you're in a blind, something like that. You've set up for the day. You're hunting there. You have a cell camera set up half-mile away, and you get a notification in that instant, in that moment. Oh, a pretty decent sized buck just walked by my camera, but I'm a half-mile away. Do you, Brooks, leave your spot and go hunt him right away? Or are you being like, oh, well, darn, I didn't get him today. I'm going to go some other time?
I mean, me personally, that's a great question. I'd probably hold off because I'm already there. Anyway, I'm already set up there. It's like, well, I just guessed wrong today.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I guess easier said than done, obviously, but I don't know. I mean, I'm with you on the ethics thing. Like, you wanna, at the end of the day, you wanna take these animals ethically, and you don't want to, because I feel like at the end of the day, like, you know what you did if you just whatever you decide to do. If you see that on your trail camera and you're a half mile away and you go over and you shoot the deer, harvest it, whatever. Yeah, only you know, but only you know that you kind of cheated in a sense to do
Right.
that. So to me it wouldn't feel as good because it would just be like, oh, that was too easy kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I
Right.
would probably, me personally, I probably would have just be like, well, I guess wrong for that one, though. Maybe another one will pop up while I'm here. So
Yeah. Because, like, in my mind, you chose a spot to sit in for that day, and you
mhm.
chose not to sit over your camera. Now, another instance would be, okay, you have a camera in the spot that you're set up on, and you have multiple cameras in multiple areas. It's like, okay,
Mhm.
I'm set up on this camera, I've got this camera over here and that camera over there, what have you.
Mhm.
And that might change it a little bit in somebody's head, but to me it's like it still doesn't change the fact that, if you're set up on one spot and you have a camera go off in another that says, oh, the deer's over here instead of where you're at, like,
Yep.
in my mind, I wouldn't move
Mhm.
regardless. Like, and even if it were vice versa, like, you picked a spot for a reason, and
Yep.
so it's like, whatever that reason might be, stick it out, because maybe your gut was right on why you should have gone to that spot instead.
Mhm.
Maybe another good deer or even better deer walks by, what have you. But for me, it's like, you chose that spot to hunt. Now, unless your plan was, okay, I'm going to sit until this time, and with 2 hours left of shooting light, I'm going to get down and kind of walk around.
Mhm.
Now, if that was your plan going into it, then you can feel good about it. But if you change your
Yep.
plan because you had a camera come across your phone saying, "Hey, this deer's in this area," and then you change your plan, to me that's just a whole different deal. So,
Yep. I
um,
agree.
other moral, ethical dilemma that people run into, and I think it's part of what has led to some law changes. Um, so the one is kind of more fair chase. That other one, like, being like, people talk about fair chase with animals, what have you.
Mhm.
Um, the one that I think has had more of an impact on laws and rules, regulations, whatever. Um, you come into an area and you see trail camera after trail camera after trail camera. At a certain point, somebody who, like, maybe new to the area, gets into this spot and they see, even if it's just one trail camera, they get there and they're like, oh man, this is somebody else's spot. Like, I don't want to take this person's spot. So I'm gonna
Mhm.
go try my backup plan when I was like, say you never got to put boots on the ground in an area for scouting, you only scouted, or you're from a different state, you showed up and you wanted to hunt this area, you get there and it's like, oh, there's a trail camera. Man, I'll bet you, like, some guy, he was probably really wanting to hunt this spot, so maybe I'll just leave it for him and I'll go to another one. And then you get there and there's another trail camera.
Mhm.
And so then it's like, it's public land, it's for the public. Just because
Right.
somebody's trail camera's there doesn't mean you can't hunt that spot.
Right.
But there is that whole, like, somebody was, they're focusing on this spot for a reason. I don't want to take that from them, but I also want, like, I'm here and they're not, so I have just as equal opportunity. I think that whole debate has kind of run rampant, and that, I think that's being more of a forefront of why things are changing with rules and
Mhm.
regulations. Um, so for me, I typically don't hunt where a camera is at. Now, if I know an area and it's like, this is like the only good spot where deer are at, and
Mhm.
there just happens to be a camera in this spot, I'm going to hunt 20 yards from it, and just, it'll
Right.
be what it'll be.
Yeah.
If I know that that's just what it is, then great. But
Mhm.
now, a lot of time with where I'm at, it's like, okay, there's a camera here, but guess what, buddy? You're 100 yards off. There's probably as good, if not better, spot 100 yards away, and I'm gonna go hunt that spot, and then it's not a problem.
Yeah.
But it's like if you find a spot where it's like, man, this guy found the spot, the deer coming in. Sorry, I'm hunting it. You're not here.
Yeah.
I'm gonna hunt it, or I beat you to it. Sorry, I don't care if you showed up well, or if like I haven't had it happen. But if a guy shows up and he's like, but my camera's right here, but I
It's on
made it here
public
an hour
land.
before you did. Sorry.
Yeah, like it's first come, first serve. Sorry, dude. Like,
Yeah. But I think there's just that kind of moral dilemma that people have of like, man, this is somebody's camera. This is kind of their spot that they like to come to a lot. They want to hunt this spot a lot this year probably, so I'm going to find a different spot, and then it changes the way people are hunting. And I think a lot of states are just saying, you know what, let's just get rid of that whole factor and make it a non-issue.
yeah.
So I guess we'll put Brooks in another scenario. You're hunting public land, and you come up on another hunter's camera in an area that you were hoping you'd be able to hunt like the whole day out around.
Yep.
How's Brooks going about it?
Well, if it's public land and no one's around, I'm gonna hunt it.
Yeah.
Like I know maybe morally that's like, oh well, that's that guy's spot. Well, at the end of the day, man, there's only so much land that we can cover. Like, and I know they say there is less hunters now than they were like a year ago, whatever. But at the same time, like, it's still a popular thing, and like if that guy's not there where his camera's at, it's public land, it's free game.
Yeah.
So I don't see anything wrong with it. I get maybe if you're like a very moral person and you're like, I'll let this guy have this one, and you go somewhere else, fine. That's your deal. But me, I mean, especially because I haven't killed anything.
Yeah.
If I'm in that situation, like, sorry, dude. Like,
Yeah.
I'm trying to harvest an animal for my first animal. Like, sorry.
Right. I like
And
to kind of think about this situation in like the sense of like fishing. You know, a lot of people probably know, like when you're looking at all the map of a lake or whatever, and you got your special maps for fishing too, and kind of similar to Onyx, and you kind of have it mapped out where you want to go, and you show up to this spot, and then as you're fishing there, somebody else comes up and is like, hey man, this is my spot. It's like,
oh, I didn't realize
it wasn't roped off. There was no sign saying this is Jimmy's spot.
Is this private land?
Yeah, you can't fish here. This is Jimmy's lake. Like, what? So, and that's just the way I look at it. It's like, just because you have something here, or like, people put out like little markers or whatever when they're fishing, like little tiny buoys that are like, okay, this is where you were. This is kind of pre GPS coordinates or whatever. But people like mark their spots with these like floaties or whatever, and they'd be anchored down, loosely anchored down, and it'd be like, you show up, it's like, well, did you not see the big or the bright green marker in the middle of the lake? Well, yeah, I did, but this is also a public lake, so like, why does it matter that you put your bright green buoy here? Right. So it's just like, okay, yeah, I did see the trail camera there. It doesn't change the fact that it's public land and I can hunt in front of this tree the same as you can.
Right. So. Exactly. It's like when I go up to Terrial, there's a couple of points that I like to go on, and I'll get there, and my first one I want to go to, oh, there's someone there. Well, I gotta go to this next one then.
Yeah.
And it's like I'm not gonna get bent out of shape about it. It's just it's public property, it's public land. Like, they were there first. Tough shit.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. So, No, I think I like trail cameras. I like to know what's in the area. For me, I use it more as like a scouting tool and understanding what's in the area, what's moving by at certain times of day. You know, is that stretch worth me hunting, or do I need to take the camera out of there, move it to a different area, or set up another trail camera somewhere else and see if like maybe it's just the time of year and they come back at a later time of year, what have you.
Right.
I use it more for I use it more for scouting, to help me like educate myself on the area and what's in the area, not so much as like, oh, I'm looking for the big buck, and if he's not in this one spot, I'm gonna move it and I'm gonna find him, and that's the only spot I'm gonna hunt. It's
Yep.
like the one spot I've found, and the reason I've kept that camera there is, early on there were a ton of does moving through, and so it's like that means there's deer in the area, so I'm gonna just hang out there and see if they come by the whole rest of the year. And sure enough, you know, there's been some good bucks come through, and more does, and so it's a pretty active area, and so it just helps me understand, you know, this is a good deer section of this public land, and so I just got to base how I want to hunt it on the weather or other factors that I've physically scouted,
Right.
not necessarily based on, okay, I'm gonna wait until that deer pops up on camera, I'm gonna get in there, type deal. So that's my tactic. I'm not saying it's not gonna change, because you know, if I get private land, you bet your bottom dollar it's gonna change, because
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna have so many other different resources, I guess you could say, of, you know, it's my land, and I can have multiple cameras set up to figure out exactly what these are deer are moving. I don't have to worry about all these other public land hunters or these other hunters in the area walking by my camera and messing with where I want to hunt. And
Right.
I can kind of zero in on what the deer are doing. And whereas public land, it's like, well, let's just hope something, I find some sort of routine or what have you out of these deer. But yeah, private land would be a whole different deal. And, you know, I'm hoping one day I can get into a situation like that. But for now, public land, just kind of getting some good scouting and understanding what's in the area and how I can hunt based off of that knowledge I get from it.
Oh, 100%. I think another good like scouting tactic would be, it's like, if say you put up one of your trail cameras in this certain spot, and then you start getting notification after notification of notification of these predators that keep popping up, and you're like, okay, I probably shouldn't hunt that area because there's a lot of predators. So that's also, I think, another good thing is just like knowing where the predators are, whether it's mountain lion, wolves, bear, stuff like that. Especially here out west, like, because I mean, there's rumors of grizzlies, bears here in Colorado. Rumors. I wouldn't be surprised if there was a few of them, because, well, I mean, bears don't know state lines at the end of the day. So it'd be nice to know, hey, there's a grizzly in that area. I probably should go get my camera and go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Or, hey, there's a bunch of mountain lions in this area. I'm super lucky one didn't attack me when I put that trail camera up. Let's go grab it. Head on a swivel type of thing. So
yeah. Right.
I think that's just a good overall, I guess, way to put it too, is just knowing what's around you. And shoot, it could be where there's a bunch of predators, but there's also a bunch of deer, a bunch of elk, and you're like, well, like,
yeah,
I'll,
risk reward on that one.
Yeah, there's a risk and a big risk, big reward. So
right.
But
yeah, well, I did just get to. I had a bunch of trail cameras and let my dad have most of them. While because he's been hunting Kansas a bunch, and send with him so that he could kind of get a feel for they've got some lease spots and other private by permission and stuff like that. So, and you can feed over there. So it's like, well, set them up right on a feeder and see what's coming in. So he had them out there, but they don't set them up year round. They only set them up pretty much when he's there. And so he's like, well, even when we're there, I think he kept one, maybe two. I don't even know if he did, but he's like, we don't use them. They like where we keep him at. That guy doesn't use them either. He doesn't really like to use them because they either see them or they don't, and they don't really care whether or not they know if a 180, 200-inch deer is in there. Because I mean, it's Kansas. There's a good chance that if he's not there this week, he might be there next week. So, but yeah. So, anyways, when I was up there, he sent me back with my cameras again. So, I'm looking forward to getting some batteries and SIM cards in there and getting them set up. I probably won't set up any more this year, but when it comes scouting time next year, we'll get a few more cameras out and probably have a lot more information based on all that. And who knows, maybe I'll find a good deer and I'll change my whole outlook on trail cameras.
It might.
But yeah, so no, I think that was a pretty good coverage of trail cameras and the ethics, morality, the laws, rules, regulations. Like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if certain areas or states change their laws. Like I said, I think it's every year, at least one state either makes a change or gets rid of them entirely. So it'll be interesting to see come legislation season when some of those things come up, if different states have new rules that come into play. Speaking of rules and changes, Tennessee just opened up their comment period. So or their first comment period. So Tennessee has a comment period where they basically they don't send you a survey, but it's an open link or whatever. You can go in, fill out, this is what I hunt, where I hunt, how I hunt, whatever. I'm an archery only guy and I hunt these units, and these are things that I would like to see change. You can talk about your bag limits and your season lengths and dates and things like that, and whether they listen to you specifically or not. But it's comment period, so whatever. If there's a lot of people saying a lot of negative things about a certain thing, maybe a change could happen. But then they make like proposals based off of those initial comments, and then there's a second comment period following that to be like, okay, that's great that you guys saw this, but you're proposing an awful rendition or an awful change to remedy the problem that we're commenting about. Maybe you should look at this. Like, we said this thinking that you were going to change it this way, but you changed it a different way, and that we don't think that would work. Obviously, not everybody's a biologist, and sometimes us non-biologists don't think about things a certain way, and they do, and whatever. So, but I think that's a lot of states do it. I think almost every state does it, where they have a comment period. I'm gonna get mine filled out here probably this week whenever I have some downtime. I filled it out last year. I don't know. For me, it's just like voting, like presidential or what have you. If you want to sit there and complain about the rules and regulations or whatever, like whatever's in the hunting, trapping, fishing handbook, if you don't like it and you don't try, like if you don't make your voice heard, now just filling out the comment thing, that's all I do. I don't go and like sit on the Capitol stairs and protest or any of that stuff. I don't write my Congress people or anything like that. But if there's something I felt passionate enough about it, I probably would. But I kind of do the bare minimum. But at least I made my voice heard. And then it's like, well, I wish they would change this. And I've commented. I put in on the comment period that I wish that they would change it. There's some ground to stand on there. But if you're somebody who's like, man, I hate that they have this, that, and the other thing, and why is this a rule? But you don't ever fill out the comment questionnaire. It's like, what do you have to complain about? You never bring it up. Like, what if they don't know that that's an issue? Nobody else has
Right.
ever brought it up before. And
Right.
so it's kind of like the civic duty. It's like it takes 10, 20 minutes depending on how thorough you get on it. And who knows, maybe you come up with some idea where like, hey, that's actually a really good idea, and a lot of people are having this issue. Not saying everybody's a genius, but sometimes a simple idea would remedy a whole lot of problems. So does Colorado have a comment period or anything like that you know of?
Yeah, I think they sent us something to fill out. I gotta look at it.
Yeah.
Again. But yeah, we do. So that's good at least. I have not filled mine out. So
You
I
got to
will.
do it, Brooks. You got to do it.
Oh, I know. I got it. I mean, so
No,
yeah.
I just think it's a good thing to do. I mean, make your voice heard. And
Mm.
even if you have great, like, nothing but good things to say, I love how things are. Like, they want to hear that too. Like,
Oh yeah.
they want to hear that people out there enjoy the seasons and the dates and whatever other rules you can think of.
I'm gonna put in make archery season longer here in Colorado, please.
See,
Whether
that's
it's
one. I mean,
deer.
obviously, archery only type of guy, but like even during muzzleloader season, like let people bow hunt during muzzleloader season. Now, when
Yeah.
the big guns get out, when the rifles get out, I get it. You don't want every Tom, Dick, and Harry with every weapon out there.
Yeah.
That then you can turn it into, some areas you can't hunt rifles, some areas you can't, whatever. But it's like I love the fact that like Kansas had it, we have it. I think Louisiana had it. Like you can hunt with a bow all year round. Like all hunting season, not all year round, well, all year round, but all hunting season, from the very opener to the very close of first date to last date of deer season, you can use a bow,
Yep.
and I love that. And I think states that have just bow only, and then just muzzleloader, and then just rifle, it's like you're limiting your hunt dates and success rates and stuff like that, and maybe some of that I'm sure is on purpose because of
Probably.
population management, but
Yeah.
it's also limiting. Like it's like, okay, how long is the archery elk season, Colorado, roughly?
Right.
A couple weeks. It's like
For us, it's a whole month. Whole month.
whole month. So it's like, okay, these people only get 1 month. Like they don't deer hunt, they don't bear hunt, they don't, which that's on them, but they're archery only because maybe they don't want a rifle or to afford a rifle, whatever. They bought the cheapest bow possible,
Right.
whatever. And it's like their only opportunity to get out and hunt is with a bow, and you're limiting them to 1 month, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, whatever it is, depending on the year. Yep. And there's 4 months of season. Like you're taking away opportunities for hunters by limiting what weapon you can use throughout the year.
Yep. I mean, we do have spring turkey archery, which I will be doing this year, which I'm looking forward to.
And deer regulations are different too. I know it's elk, but
it's all. I mean, deer you have to draw out here no matter what. Elk is over the counter. Antelope is over the counter in certain units. Bear is over the counter. Deer is very well regulated here, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
Well,
point being, fill out your comment questionnaire. Take advantage of the comment period. Let your voice be heard, and
be heard.
Yeah, it's getting to that time of year for, I would guess, everybody, and so I guess that's our call to action out of the Full-Fledged podcast is make your voices heard in the comment periods.
Make your voices heard.
Make your voices heard in our comment section here on the Full-Fledged podcast.
Yes, please leave a comment.
Leave a like.
Subscribe. Follow.
Yeah, do all those.
Follow the Instagram page.
Yeah, go to fullfletchedarchery.com. Order some arrows.
Order arrows.
send me an email, justin@fullfletcharchery.com.
Don't send me an email.
Yeah, don't email Brooks.
I'll just forward it to Justin.
He might think it's spam.
Probably.
Report you.
Justin, this guy's trying to order arrows from me. I think it's spam.
But no, that was a good little promo there, Brooks. We might need to come up with a little something like that every time. That was
I
fun.
think so. Yeah, we got to come up with something.
So, all right. Well, I think with that we'll close her out. Brooks, closing comments.
I don't think so.
All right, and we'll
right.
close her out here. Thanks for listening to the Full Fletch podcast. We'll catch you on the next one.
See you guys.